All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I'm super excited to be kind of setting the stage for one of our first sessions of the day. My name is Nina Gomez-Fernandini from the University of Miami. I'm a member of the Higher Ed Advisory Council, and I'll be the moderator for this session. I'm super excited to welcome this team, where we'll be learning about how this little team took on a campus-wide project in the Universidad de San Andrés in Argentina. They're a true Latin American trailblazers, and I'm so excited that they're here today. While they're presenting, I'll monitor the chat and Q&A, which can be found just at the right of your screen. And with that, Carlos, take it away.
Thanks, Nina. My name is Carlos Garcia Garrido, and at the Universidad de San Andrés, I am responsible to discover insight information using Salesforce and create KPIs in smart dashboards to strategic stakeholders of my org. With other important workers, I lead the Center of Excellence to establish data governance policies. And especially with the IT team and key users of different business units, we develop change management, user adoption, and best practice in sales, service, and marketing using the Salesforce platform. Since 2020, as a volunteer of this great community, I am chair of El Consejo de Instituciones Educativas de Latinoamérica, that is equivalent to the Higher Education Advisory Council of the US. And today I am with my coworker, Georgina Ibañez. Gina, introduce yourself, please.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Nina, for your introduction. Hi, everybody. I'm so excited to be here today. My name is Georgina, but everybody at university calls me Gina. I have started working in higher education 10 years ago for undergraduate admissions, coordinating sales and marketing processes. We implemented Salesforce in 2013, and I became a super user. 3 years ago, our CTO offered me the Salesforce team leader position. Since then, I've been leading the Digital Y Campus project with Salesforce and its integrations with the University SIS and Form Assembly. I'm also working as a Salesforce consultant for Tribo, a Latin American regional partner. Charlie, I'd like to turn back to you.
Thanks, Gina, and thanks, HEDreamin members and crew who organized this awesome meet. We are so honored and excited to share our story. Our today's agenda. First, I'll give you an overview of La Universidad de San Andrés. Then Gina will talk more deeply about our use case, our journey, and our lessons learned in this case. And last, I will share which is our current status and roadmap. Finally, some minutes to your Q&A. To give you an overview and some context, and before diving deep in this agenda, let me share who we are. A little story of our university. Located in Buenos Aires, Argentina, in the very south of South America, we are an academic community committed to the pursuit of truth, as well as the progress of Argentina and the well-being of its inhabitants. Although we are only 33 years old as an institution, the education project was born with the Scottish community in Argentina in 18 when they created St. Andrews School. La Universidad de San Andrés is leader in Argentina, a non-profit and with a secular orientation. It's to reach the Argentine higher education system, quality education available to all those individuals willing to learn and excel without regard of their economic resources. To understand our institution and scale, I'll give you an overview of our academic offer. We have 15 undergraduate majors with 2,500 students. And in the last years, we create new majors that introduce innovation in the education system. Are design, digital business, behavior science, and artificial intelligence engineering. We have 27 graduated and postgraduate programs with 3,000 students and more than 50 executive education programs with 3,500 professionals and executives per year. We are leaders in company tailor-made programs in the corporate sector, and our institution is ranked #1 in Business School Alumni Network. We also have 11 research centers in business, social, education, and humanistic disciplines. And our mission is to bring opportunities to students independently of their economic resources. This is why almost half of our undergraduate students receive some type of scholarship or financial assistance. As of today, The school offers 10 different types of scholarships that are supported with a great fundraising team, all managed through Salesforce, admission and recruitment process. And now Gina will present our use case.
Thank you, Charlie. I'm in charge to let you know how we succeed in this dream project of having only one org to rule them all. So we used to have these two orgs. One was the B2B org that supported recruitment and admission processes for the business school and executive education programs. The other org was the HEDA org that supported recruitment and admission processes, but for undergraduate and some graduate programs. The decision was to migrate from the B2B org to HEDA. But why did we decide that? The HEDA architecture suits the university sales model better than the B2B org. Let's dive deeper into the two orgs to better understand the decision. We used to have some issues with the B2B org. The data quality we have there was actually very poor. The Web2Live form to capture prospects did not prevent duplicate records from being created. Also, the Salesforce integration with the SIS was not developed for the graduate programs. However, there was an existing integration between the SIS and the HEDA org for undergraduate programs. That integration works with two objects, contacts and postulaciones, which is our custom object for opportunities. The three business processes in the B2B org were still using opportunity object, and this had to change to let the integration with the SIS work using the postulaciones custom object. But the most important reason why we chose HEDA was that HEDA was the healthier org. The data quality there was really good. We had succeeded avoiding duplicate records using form assembly, and we were already following the best practices. So this was what we had at the beginning of this adventure. Let me tell you now about the pros and cons of leading this project. This was the context. We started this project on February 2020, just a few weeks before the world pandemic began. We had to stop going to the office and started to work remotely as everybody else. That was good on one side, but not so much on the other. Everybody was so stressed out about this new virus. Despite the uncertain times, it was actually good to work from home with less distraction and easy to focus. Of course, we had to learn first how to balance family life with home office. So, these were our pros. We had experienced resources with previous knowledge of how to integrate with the SIS. We had 2 experienced Salesforce admins, 1 for each org. We also had 2 consultants, a developer and a partner who had already been working with us and knew both orgs. What were our cons? Unfortunately, we always have a limited budget, and this project was not the exception. Our team was a small team. There was just 2 of us and the 2 consultants, and the project was actually very ambitious. Although we had 4 months to work in this migration and its integrations, we had only 1 long weekend to migrate the critical information from one org to the other, enable the integrations with SIS and form assembly, and finally switch off the B2B org. Next slide, Nina, please. We have a lot to do in front of us and only 4 months until the migration date. So we started defining and dividing tasks, and we scheduled the steps one by one. We had to analyze B2B org in order to detect critical objects and decide which of them should be migrated. We used the field trip app to have exact information about the fields that were being used and decide which of them should be recreated. We also made a list of the automations such as validation rules, flows, process builders, etc., that we needed to rebuild in HEDA org. As soon as we had all this ready, we created a sandbox in HEDA org and started to prepare all the metadata. As a result of a holistic view and established critical business processes, we created record types for accounts and postulaciones. We also recreated or updated fields and automations. In the meantime, the IT team and the Salesforce developer were working in the new integration with SIS for the graduate programs. There was one more important task we needed to focus. We had to prepare forms using form assembly to replace the old well-to-lead data capture model. Finally, it was time for testing. We had to be sure that automations and the two integrations worked the way they were supposed to. We prepared all these things while doing our everyday job. These were very hard times. We used to work between 12 and 16 hours a day. But time flies when you are busy. The long weekend was just in front of us. As I have already told you, we only had 4 days to migrate the critical information from one org to the other, enable the integrations with the SIS and form assembly, and finally switch off the B2B org. The first thing to do was to deploy the sandbox metadata to production. That took time, but was the easy part. After that, we had to migrate all the critical records from the B2B org to EDA. We decided to use Data Loader. That was actually a very wise decision because Data Loader allows you to upload system field values when you are creating new records. So we could keep important system information such as original created date or last modified date from the B2B org. Of course, some issues appeared. Our Salesforce company language is Spanish in both orgs. When we exported CSV files, Excel understood some dates fields as dates, but others as general. So we needed to identify in which cases Excel changed the information and prepare formulas to correct the values. This issue increased the planned time for the migration and resulted in us working very long hours. On the last day of the long weekend, before switching off the B2B org, we enabled the two integrations, SIS and form assembly. Although we had already tested them in Sandbox, you know that when you deploy to production, errors show up. We finally went to sleep very late on Tuesday night. We took a very long deep breath and tried to rest. It was just a matter of hours before users' complaints could begin. The first 3 or 4 weeks after the deployment were a real nightmare. The easy part, or not so easy at times, was to train users in EDA structure and to explain how the new integrations work. We had to be very patient and understanding as they learned the new system, architecture, and integrations. We were on call 12 hours a day, answering questions and explaining to users the same processes again and again. Bugs and issues came out regularly and had to be fixed one by one. It was stressful, but worth it. And luckily, we had a partner that was there to help us along the way. The new EDA architecture and the integrations also revealed some automations that we needed to build for the graduate business school programs to help the users with their business processes. We had to think of the best way to automate the processes, and we had to do it in record time because the system was already live. After 3 weeks of the most stressful time in our working life history, there finally came the day when we received only one SOS call. That moment was glorious. We felt that finally everything was working as it was supposed to. It was time to celebrate. But as you know, a Salesforce admin work is never done. Besides responding to everyday challenges, there was a last very important task to take care of. We had to clean all the bad data from the B2B that now we had in this single org. We decided to buy Apsona, Dedupe, and Match license to help. We are still using the SAP Exchange solution to keep all the data clean. It really works for us. Okay, what did we learn after all? Although Romina, Charlie, and I had been working at the same university and with Salesforce platform for so many years, we had never worked together until this project started. We belong to different areas and have different bosses, but we learn it's up to us to join for the greater good. Now we are working cross-functionally, and this is really very important and useful for the institution. We set weekly office hours for each end user Salesforce team. We are using this time as an open meeting to answer user questions, train them in Salesforce best practices, and think about new ideas to make their everyday lives easier at work. These office hours allow us to find our super users. This is great because they help us to keep the teams informed about news and following best practices. Last but not least, users started to talk to each other. They began to understand how every group used Salesforce and discover new ways to work. That helped them think of new ideas to improve their user experience. Although they always thought they were the only ones working this way or having issues, they finally realized that they are not so different in the end, and that their own experience can help others and vice versa. Well, everyone, thank you for listening. Now Charlie is going to tell you about our next steps.
Whoa, thank you, Gina. You all must know that Gina is our rock star, and her story and our story continue. A few months ago, and after listening to Salesforce specialists like Ernie Maldonado, we all know who is Ernie. He's like our big brother in this great Ohana. We created a Center of Excellence as a mechanism to establish policies and data governance in our new single org to rule them all. And now we realize that it is time to include other areas, alumni and advancement, so we can manage and reimagine their business process to update and upgrade their services using Salesforce. Surely this is not the end, but it's the end of our presentation. Thanks again, and we are now open to your questions.
So we did have a question in the chat. I think Michelle asked for the App Exchange solution that you mentioned for the deduping and for your other processes, Georgina, after the implementation.
Yes, we are using Apsona. It has a special license, which is dedupe and match, that it was really very useful for us. It allowed you to find duplicates and to clean, to merge those duplicates records without losing any information about both records. You choose one to be the principal record, and everything is mixed in the same and only one record. Nina, help me if I'm not so clear. Sorry, people. It's not my English is not my language, so I'm trying to do my best. If not, Nina can help me.
Of course, that's okay. Michelle and Daniel, did that answer your question about the deduping process? Joanna says, great answer. Michelle had another question too about, thank you, Daniel, for confirming that. What did turning off the B2B org entail? What does that mean? That you turned off the B2B? That
means that any user can enter the org after the moment we just turn it off. It was just
and all your automations, right? You turned all of your process builders, all your flows, everything got turned off.
Yes, everything was in the new IDA org and was ready there. And so it started to work there, and the B2B, and we never entered the B2B org again.
They never looked back, Michelle. Michelle's other question is more for Charlie, and I think this might be the last one we have time for. How did you create your Center of Excellence?
Well, it's not so easy when you are in a organization like ours, or we are in universities that are very silos. But when you have, we make some great job with the team and the key users, and all people understand that it's a best practice to have all in one unique processes, people that had to decide what to do with the system, with what we have to do with the roadmap, and we use this center of excellence to have the most important stakeholders in our org to make them have their decisions too, and we all take it as a one person, and that center of excellence is well supported by the first level of the university, dean and the right directors, the best important directors.
Thank you, Charlie. Yes, it's always critical to have good executives, right? I see Joanna popped up. I think that's our time, huh?
That is our time. Thank you so much, Carlos and Gina. Thank you to our attendees for joining, and for Nina, our crew member, for hosting. Nina, you want to wrap us up?
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, thank you, gracias, for coming to this session. You can definitely connect with the team. They're happy to continue to share their story and answer questions. What's next? There's more content. This was one of the first sessions of the day, so go back to the main stage or the agenda, join a networking table, go visit our sponsors at their booths. Absona, one of the products that Georgina was talking about, is actually one of our sponsors for this event, so go talk to them about deduping. We'll see you in another session.
Thank you.
Thank you.